Hello and welcome to P2P Live, our weekly jobs and employment market update, going live across Australia on a range of social platforms. My name's 𝐜𝐴tHRINE. I'm the Managing Director of People to People here in Sydney. I'm very happy to be your host today, and it's a jam-packed agenda that we have. So our focus today is really about what 2025 holds for the workforce. So what key trends are expected to impact the hiring landscape in 2025? This week, we are joined by Brooke Lord, who's the Head of Advocacy and Policy at RCSA, and we'll explore with Brooke the key trends expected to impact the 2025 job market and how they may shape employer expectations, job seeker priorities, and importantly, what you can do to stay ahead in the competitive labour market. Also on the show today, what does the latest unemployment rate reveal about the labour market in 2025? We'll explore our latest job opportunities in Australia. And lastly, we will reveal our new social media insights on workplace equality. So jumping straight into the show today, last week, our recent survey revealed that 45% of voters said that HR leaders say their top priority in 2025 is upskilling and reskilling. With skills gaps widening, workplace demand evolving, it's no surprise that upskilling and reskilling is a priority for HR leaders in 2025. Businesses and everybody is struggling to navigate rapid change. So investing in employee development must be more crucial than ever. But is it the number one challenge that HR leaders will face in 2025? Well, here to talk through all of that, we're joined, as I said, by Brooke Lord, Head of Advocacy and Policy at RCSA. Thanks for joining us, Brooke.
Thanks for having me, 𝐜𝐴tHRINE. It's a pleasure to be here. And can I say, I don't know if it's going to be the biggest trend for 2025, but that survey result certainly supports what we're hearing from our members and from the labour market more broadly. For some time now, we've heard there's been a real trend with employers to restructure rather than rehire around vacancies. That's probably a lot to do with, changing, labour dynamics, uncertain, economic climate, and also the cost of doing business is getting higher. So that would make sense, therefore, that people are looking to upskill in the workplace.
Yeah, that's absolutely the experience of our consulting team as well, talking to our customers. Beyond that, are there any other top trends that you expect will sort of shape the workforce in 2025? Anything else that you see might be on the horizon or is already impacting the labour market?
Yeah, look, I think one of the things we expect to see sort of unfold over 2025 is a greater use of AI in the day-to-day, all the AI tools that exist in day-to-day and everyday living. We're already seeing people adopt those things. And I think there's probably going to be a movement from wow to how and greater investment in AI tools, because I think most people now will start to use those on a daily basis in the workplace. I think one interesting thing that we need to keep an eye on will be a slight shift, a continued shift in the dynamics between employees and employers. For some time post-COVID, we've seen really significant skills shortages in areas and a decreasing level of unemployment. We expect that to sort of level out a little bit in 2025, and that shift of power, if you like, back for a greater balancing of power between employers and employees. Will be interesting to see how that plays out in the workplace around a whole range of considerations, including wages and also maybe even around, flexible working arrangements and whether they evolve or shift any.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was going to ask you around that. Yeah, is there alignment or is there disconnect between employer and employee sort of expectations and what they're valuing? And if I'm hearing you correctly there, you're saying that has probably been a little disconnected, but you expect that might have to get into closer alignment as we sort of face what's ahead in 2025?
I think there's probably always been, if we're fair, there's always a disconnect a little bit between what employees and employers are looking for in the relationships. And that's always there. What changes is, I guess, supply and demand and the ability to negotiate, like anything, right? So once we see a change back toward a scenario where, wages are coming back down a little bit, there are, there's been a sort of a dampening in the marketplace. We're going to see different conversations had. It's the nature of shifting dynamics, right?
Yeah, quite as much leverage on one side or the other.
That's right. Interestingly, I was in a conversation recently where someone had data around the number of applications for jobs and the fact that it's actually come up in the last sort of month or two, and there's been an uptick in applications, but not in participation. So we're actually seeing an uptick in people looking for side hustles and part-time work just to try and adapt to cost of living pressures at home. So that I thought was quite interesting as well.
Yeah, it is, and I will share later today in the broadcast some stats around that, because I think the headline labour market or employment figures don't necessarily tell the whole story around underemployment and some of those other things underneath there as well. So that's really, really interesting. Thank you for joining us, Brooke. Is there anything else that you think in terms of opportunities or things that particularly job seekers, as they're looking into 2025, should be mindful of or can take advantage of?
Yeah, I think for job seekers, there's going to be a challenge around the dynamic and managing expectations around what they're going to get from their employer as we see that shift we talked about. But I do think there's significant opportunity for job seekers who are clever about the way that they promote themselves and the way that they actually upskill themselves, train and or get work experience, be it a side hustle or be it, a paid course, to present themselves as a specialist in what they do, to add real value to a company in the skills that they bring, but also to have diversified skills, capabilities and interests, because we're seeing a real shift toward upskilling in-house. Someone who wears multiple hats, one of them predominantly, but other ones they can put on at short notice, would have to be of high value to a future employer in this market, where they may well be looking to fill a role that might move within beyond there.
The diversity of skill set, absolutely. Once again, that definitely is the experience of our consulting teams talking to customers. So that's all really helpful, Brooke. Thank you for your insights, and thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks so much. Okay, so what's happening, what do the numbers tell us around what's happening in the employment market? And Brooke and I obviously just mentioned that briefly there, but what I wanted to share with you today is the unemployment rate for Australia. So it did increase slightly in January to 4.1%. So that does indicate that the labour market is still relatively strong. That's a very low unemployment rate, really, when you consider where it's been over time. The other thing that's interesting, though, to point out from those January numbers, it was also the highest participation rate ever in Australian history, which was at 67.3%. So that's really essentially people who are wanting to be in the workforce, and cost of living might be a factor there. So they're the headline employment figures, and as I said, it suggests that the labour market is fairly strong, and it certainly is in some pockets. I think the thing that I wanted to just share briefly is that the headline numbers don't necessarily tell the full story around what's happening in the labour market in different areas, in different pockets. So one of the real distinctions has been in job creation in the private sector versus in the public sector or government or non-market sector. So 85% of the net job creation in the past year, 85%, was generated in either government, public service or non-market sectors. So it does demonstrate that the private sector is perhaps not as buoyant and as strong, and it does vary very much from across geography as well. So even that unemployment number, I think it's as high as 4.7 in Victoria and as low as 3.1 or 3.2 in the ACT. So very much a fragmented kind of market, and there's lots of opportunities in some areas. It's more challenging in others. So watch this space in terms of how that plays out through 2025. And obviously there's a lot of things happening around Australia and around the globe, including our own election that's coming up, which will no doubt have and impact. But that's the numbers for this week. And we will go now to our hot jobs, which this week are brought to you by our market report. So our salary and market report is a very comprehensive report that we produce every year. That's coming out very, very soon. So the market report is the sponsor of the hot jobs today. So what those opportunities are, there's a recoveries paralegal in Brisbane that the team are looking to fill. That's a permanent position, and you can see the salary on screen there. In Marsden Park in Western Sydney here in New South Wales, there's an inbound team leader, a DC inbound team leader. We're looking for a marketing coordinator for one of our customers here in Sydney, which is a temporary role, and that's on an hourly rate. And there's a bid writer for one of our customers in Victoria. That's also a temporary position on an hourly rate. So if you're interested in any of those positions, or even more broadly interested in an opportunity across Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, jump onto our website, reach out to myself or anyone else on our socials, and we can certainly connect you to the relevant consultant for the particular area that you are interested in. So yeah, as I said, that's it really for this week. Hopefully those insights were interesting and helpful for you. Please do feel free to reach out to me. I'm very active on the social channels. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, is probably the best place to do that, or jump onto our website, as I said. But thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week. Thanks so much.